Hello class, today we're going to talk about our second project, which is logo design. So let's go ahead and talk about the specifications of the project. Okay, so the overview is the student will use vector tools in Adobe Illustrator to create a logo for their design company. They may use a symbol, their name, or the initials to their name as a logo. So I feel that it's very important as graphic designers, actually anybody, nowadays, the way that the industry is, the way the economy is, it's very important that we learn to brand ourselves. So that's why I've chosen this project to be about you, about branding yourself. If you haven't already done so, um, it's a good start to think about probably creating a logo, or it could just be your name. But there's certain things that you can do with your name to stand out. So as graphic designers, it's very important that we all have business cards. So this is very important that we start with a logo, and our next project is going to lead us into creating a business card. So you cannot finish your degree and not be ready with a business card. It's very important that you have that. So that's why I see a lot of students that don't have a business card ready, or at least are thinking about it, because this might be the start and you may continue to grow and develop your own style, but you need to start somewhere. So the more that you can get feedback from everybody, the better. So the specifications, 8.5 by 11, that is where we're going to create our logo, and I'll show you a little demonstration later. The requirements is the logo should be a visual indication of the industry served. So I'm going to allow you, if you really don't want to design for yourself, you don't want to create a logo, which I think is a missed opportunity. If you have some other company in mind, let's say somebody, a friend, or an organization that you know that is already asking you for a logo, this will be a good opportunity too. I have had students who just do not want to do a logo for themselves, but I think that it's important that you start thinking about it. Let's see. So the directions will be begin with a thumbnail sketch, use shapes and lines to convey the message. I always start with a sketch because for me, logo is the hardest thing to design, because it's a symbol that is representing a whole company. So it takes a lot of research, a lot of thought. So it's important for me to get off of the computer and start sketching things out. So hopefully you do the same as well. Towards the end, we will add meaningful color, but I think it's important that you start off with black and white and see if that works the best for contrast reasons. We will be using Illustrator to render the design vector, and then we will save for web so we can upload to D12. The reason why you need to use Illustrator, which I'm going to demonstrate to you exactly why, but there is no reason why you should be using any other program other than Illustrator to create your logo. I know that some people are very comfortable with Photoshop, but that is the wrong platform to create a logo, okay? A lot of people, they make the mistake of creating it in Photoshop, and you need to learn how to use Illustrator. So that's why the first project I made you guys do was an Illustrator, and this one is also going to require Illustrator. So you can download a trial version of Illustrator at adobe.com, and they will allow you to use it for free for 30 days. Or you can also use the School Lab, okay? So the evaluation is going to be based on uniqueness, attention to detail, concept creativity, layout design, participation, and timeliness. So I have the date here that's due. It's on the 31st of January. Okay. All right, so let's get started. Let's look at some samples, for instance. This example is very clever. So it starts off, it's EDS, electric. So the main focal point is actually a negative space, which is an E. And then we see the D is also formed by the, what do you call those? The, not the socket, it's the plug. Yeah, okay. So I think that's very clever. You have to think about ways of how, if you're going to be working with, let's say, your initials, how you're going to integrate them and make them work. Okay. This is just a symbol, but I love the negative and positive space, how the mind is forced to connect those things. So you could think about that, about how well to use your negative and positive. Same thing here. This is very clever because it spells out pencil, and then with just adding that little triangle at the bottom, it looks like a pencil. So you just have to experiment and see what you can come out designing. Like I said, I think it's very important to start off with the sketchbook, so I would recommend you do that, because your mind, I feel like it's just easier to flow that way. Even if you're not good at sketching, it'll make sense to you, and it'll look a lot better on the screen once you start tweaking it. 11 with the piano notes. Creating, maybe you want to choose one letter, which might be your first name or something, or somebody in my last class, they used their last name and they focused on that, and you can create an animal or something. You don't have to choose your name. You can also create your own name. It could be something creative. I don't know, like this one, Good Duck, or just something completely creative. Like, doesn't even go with graphic design, but it's like Happy Studios. I don't know. That's kind of cheesy, but still. Something studios or something labs or creative, and or media or something like that you can add to the end, or you can create your own company name or something like that if you want to go that route. These are playing with initials and shapes and colors. I'm not sure if they made up their own font, but you can also draw your own font, or make it very unique to you. It stands out more. Here I like the example how it's playing with the negative and the positive. I love this one. They took a number 8 and chopped it up, and you clearly read it, 8. So kind of like the duck one, giraffe. This was very clever too. So as you can see, I really like the negative and positive, just because I feel like it reduces clutter and it makes your mind think, so, or connect the dots, so I feel like kind of you challenge people when you do something like that. Here's another example. More examples. Like I said, you can create your own name, like this one, Media Leaf, and they've created a little symbol that goes with that. So if you want to create a symbol, that is also another option. or you can just play with your initials and create something unique. But it's up to you. And this one I'd like to show you because when we design, this is kind of a good example of, well, I started designing one and then I kind of made a copy and paste and went a different route, and so now I have a few and I want to get feedback. So it would be nice that if you have a couple of logos on a page that you label them either by ABC or 1, 2, 3. That way we know what we're talking about when we discuss online. So it's very important that you label if you have a few logos on a page. Studio 8, I love this one. I like this one too. Okay, so these are some examples. Do you notice how a lot of these are very clean and to the point? There's no gradation. It's important that you don't start adding gradients or start adding textures. I have some students, they just want to bevel and emboss and shadow and this and that. Stay away from all of that, okay? This is really two-dimensional because let's say, well, we don't use this that much anymore, but let's say you need a fax something and your logo is on it and it has all these gradients, all these little elements, and it's just going to get lost. So the more bold and two-dimensional that it is, if it stands good at black and white, then the better, the stronger your message is. So notice a lot of logos out there are very, very simple, and that's the challenge because we want to start with so much, but once we start taking stuff away, we're going to notice that we end up with something very much stronger. Like look at Apple, just the little Apple, and it's been getting more and more simplified as the years go by. So having said that, let's look at some examples of past logos. So this is kind of like the history of the way logos have evolved, and we'll notice the trends. So see how Pepsi started, kind of looks like the way Coca-Cola started. Have you noticed Coca-Cola hasn't really, I mean, they have a different version like Coke, but Coca-Cola, it has lasted the test of time. It hasn't evolved much. It has stayed that way. That's because it was done correctly from the beginning. So Pepsi has changed its ways throughout, and now we see it as this. So see how it has so much, it has just simplified. So all that bevel and emboss and all of that, that's kind of old school. So simple is the way things are going. Same thing with Shell. You're gonna be tempted to add shadows, add gradients, add this and add that, because that's the tools that we're using. They allow us to do that. So when we can do that, we just feel like, oh, cool, it can do that. But the challenge is not using those. They're there for a reason. But as far as logo, let's just keep it very, very 2D. And what I mean by 2D is like not adding any of the textures and bevel and emboss, like I was saying, or shadows. Okay, so you see how it's just progressively been getting simple and to the point where they just took off the name. It's already recognized, like it's already been branded in our minds. Same thing goes with Starbucks. Like if you guys notice, they took off the name. When they've done such a good job at branding, they no longer need to say the name. We already know who they are. Same thing with Apple. Yeah. Okay, so Xerox, see how it's just been changing over the years. I mean, they have added a little bit of like a glow and all of that. But for the most part, the actual word, it has turned more, and if you saw my other video with the typography, you see that more modern look is the sans serif. So this font that they chose looks much more modern. And then we see BMW. They did add some gradient, but it has to look good in black and white before you start adding some embellishments. So if it, I'm sure that this logo still looks strong in black and white. And then IBM, I feel that they probably put that because it kind of wasn't strong enough. It wasn't holding itself on its own, but I have no idea why they did that. Canon, as we can see, it ended up being, it's just a typographic logo, so they just chose a much more distinctive and modern font. Same thing with Kodak. They went with a sans serif that looks very much modern. Volkswagen. It kind of still looks the same as this one. They added gradients. And then the YMCA. This Y does look a lot more modern. Then Apple is just getting more and more simple each time. Just it almost wants to disappear. It looks so transparent, but it just emphasizes how they are very simple and clean, and you know, it just looks very sleek. And then, do you see how they're just getting more just clean looking? And then Windows, which I'm not that crazy about this logo, but sometimes we can't make any sense out of what makes it, you know. We can just go on and talking about these things. I don't know if you guys knew, like, the Gap was trying to do a rebrand of their logo, and it backfired because it was so bad. You guys should do a research on that. We're not going to talk about it today. Okay, so before we go there, let's talk about some of the colors that studies have shown why some companies choose certain colors and not others. So what colors do companies use most? So most companies use blue and red and black or grayscale. Yellow does not offer that much of a contrast, but hey, McDonald's uses yellow. Okay, so 40% of the companies use just type their name or the founder's name or something like that. 9% don't feature the company name at all. Well, like I said, they're just so well known they don't have to. And 5% uses a lot of different colors. So what do colors mean? Okay, I'm gonna put this on your on the project discussion so you guys can have this, but essentially this kind of goes over what each color means. So maybe that can help you choose what kind of color you want for your logo. And we talked a little bit about fonts, what sans serif and serif fonts mean and what they look like. So the typography video kind of goes over that. So it's up to you what kind of look and feel you're going to go with, okay? All right, let's talk a little bit about the process. So this is a logo that I made for a company, and this is the process I go through. So first, I conduct a questionnaire to get my client's vision. So I'll ask them, what, just a ton of questions. I want to get everything I can, any websites, anything that can help me create this logo. So this logo was, it says it right here, communicating about choices in transplantation for kidney research. So what I did was I did my research what other um, kidney logos look like and what a kidney looks like, which wasn't pretty, but I had to, do that as part of my research. So after I got some ideas, I went and I sketched out, it's about communicating and walking people through it. So I thought about the heart and how, this is something nice that they're doing. So I was trying to merge those things together. I mean, they're not great sketches, but at least it gives you an idea of like what my mind process was. Then I go onto the computer and I give them different types of designs that they can choose from and see which one they like. So based on what we talked about, they kind of wanted to mix and match, and so eventually they went with something like this. It's not one I would have chosen, but it's about the client, so I want to make them happy. So I'm not going to show them something I'm not happy with. So they might like that one, So I want this to be a reflection of on me. So I go ahead and I show them the ones that I like. So that is my process. Now let's talk about, let's see. All right, let's go to Illustrator. So once we're in Illustrator, let's see. If I want to start designing a logo, I'm just going to use my initials. So M, and okay, I have this on. Sorry, I'll show you guys how to do this bit in all caps. Usually, I like to break stuff apart so I can move them around. So I'll put the M, and I'll make it as big as possible. And then what I will do is I already have it at 72, so I will just create a copy. If you hold down Option and click and drag, you create a copy. And I like to do that because it will maintain the style. If not, you might not. Oh, sometimes it goes back to default. Okay, so now here I'm gonna move it, I'm gonna change it to 8. So that way I can move it around and see, like, can I hook these together? What can I do to kind of merge the two if that's the route I'm going? Okay, so let's say I have that as an example. Okay, I just want to start off with that. I'm just briefly going through this. I want you guys to think about this a lot more than what I'm doing, of course. Okay, so Option, click and drag, and I create a second one. And if I want to make these all caps, what you do is you go to Type, Size, and Other, and you will have this window with your fonts show up. And there's this little this button right here. If you click it, you will see that it says all caps. You want to click on that, and it creates all caps. So let's just say, okay, well, I'm trying to see if maybe the fonts will align somehow. I'm just trying to make them merge somehow. Okay, so let's just say that I did that. And remember last time I said, if you select the fonts, you can also go to Type and Create Outlines. And if you get closer, You first have to click out, make sure that nothing is selected, and then with the white arrow tool, you can select a point and you can move stuff around. And that's up to you if you want to do something like that, okay? All right, let's just say we went with that, okay. Well, you can also add, let's just say, a circle. And it's orange. You have your swatches here on the side. Object, arrange, send to back. That will make your circle go to the back. All right, so we have that. So what I will do is I will create a number 1. That's a little bit too big, so I will make that 24. Then I will label it as 1, option, click and drag, and I will label this one as 2. Okay, so when you create logos, it is very customary that you use Pantone colors. And what Pantone colors allows you to do for big companies, it's important that their color remains consistent throughout time, throughout all of their branding. So that red that Coca-Cola uses is very important that it stays that red and it doesn't show up kind of pink over here or a little bit more maroon over there. So in order to keep that, there are certain printers that will make sure that there's like the same exact type of mixture of tint, and that's what a Pantone color is. So it makes sure that that color is going to be printed out that way. Okay, so we'll go over that a little bit more in another video which is going to talk a lot about branding. So, but where do you get that? You would have to go under Windows, and Brush Libraries is quite a way to get there. Okay, you go to Brush Libraries, and then you go to, no, I'm sorry. You go to Swatch Libraries. Then you go to Color Books, and then you go to Pantone Solid Coated. That's my favorite one. I'll tell you why. So you have Pantone Solid Coated, and if you hold down right here at the corner, click and drag, you will see all the colors. I know it's a lot, but I'm showing you just getting you used to these things because this is part of the industry, okay? So if I want that orange, I have to actually get an actual orange that I get the Pantone. Number 4, let's say this orange, okay? So it shows up here on your swatches. If you click on it, it'll show up in your swatches. So if you hover over it, it's Pantone 130 coated. So the way you check it is you usually have a Pantone book which shows you all these chips, and that Pantone 130 is what's going to be printed. So it might look a certain way on the screen, but when it prints out, we know that it's going to be that color. Okay, so I hope this is not overwhelming, but this is the way things work in our industry. So you can close that. You can choose a couple of colors that you want to work with, and if you click on them, they'll just keep on adding to your swatches palette here. Okay, and you can go back and forth and use those. But we'll go over some of those things in the other video that talks about branding. Okay, but it's important that you know at least how to get to that to the Pantone swatches. The the reason why I choose coated is because sometimes what coated means is the kind of paper it's going to print on. If it's going to print on a glossy, it's coated. If it's going to print on a matte paper, which is not glossy, that's going to be a Pantone chip that's going to be different. So it's for matte or uncoated. Um, so um, so it depends on what kind of paper that you choose is which Pantone you're going to end up choosing as well. Okay, so let's say I have a couple of logos and I want to critique. This right here, this is your original file. So when you save it for yourself, you want to go ahead and say save. And you make sure that it's Illustrator AI document, okay? And that right there is going to be um, your original file. You can always go back and make changes, okay? So you need that in order to make changes. You want to save your Illustrator file. And eventually your client or your boss is going to need that as well. So, but the way that we're going to share our files so we can look at them and critique them in class is going to be this way. We go to File, Save for Web, and okay, there we go. And you want to make sure that it says JPEG, okay? And if it's too big, for some reason, well, maybe you can also make the size down here if you want to say I would like it to be 50% just to show, you know, the class, so it won't be like a blown up file or whatever. I don't know, 50%, 75% smaller, or just like that. But you save it as a JPEG and hit save, okay? So that way you can share it in the discussion. So we can give you feedback and let you know where you can go, what direction to take, okay? So that's how you're going to save it. Okay, so once you're once you're ready to upload, I wanted to show you something. I see a lot of you are not uploading the right way, the way we can take advantage more of our discussions this way. So if you're ready to upload something on one of the discussions, and let's say you have this format here, and it's not showing you all the features that you may want to use. There's still this little button here, show all components. You can click on that and it'll show you more options, like you can bold things or italicize or underline or indent or bullet and add videos. This one is insert image. So once you saved your image as a save for web, you want to use this one, okay? You want to click on that and say upload. Okay, my computer's slow today. So you want to choose, let's say, you want to choose an image, a JPEG, the one you chose, and it might ask you to put before you upload, to give it a name. So just go ahead and just say project 1 or whatever, and then say done or submit or whatever it asks you. But that's the way that we can take advantage of our critiques a lot better, okay? So I hope all of this helped. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will be talking to you later, okay? Take care. Bye.